Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Friday, October 6th, 2023 by Gaia Blooming. I'm Mimi and our energy mantra for today is I balance my revolution with some inner evolution. And here we are in our second evolution revolution day of Sun in Libra and Moon in Cancer, all the yachtiness going on. I've been talking about it all week. This chart is really intense. Like, whoo, God bless those souls coming in right now. I have a friend who has 3 odds, and I actually heard her voice saying that when I said it. But, you know, the most interesting thing, as I look at today's astro, some challenging things, but it's the moon in Cancer, Sun in Libra energy, because I think that emotions are one of the things that are most likely to throw us off balance, because we here in Earth School never really learned to fully deal with our emotions. And as I was sitting here looking at this astro and thinking about some of my most intense emotional times, I thought about when Joe was in the hospital earlier this year, and I was so scared. I didn't know if he was going to make it. It was very intense. And the most wonderful song came on called, I think it's called Don't Hold Your Breath by Wookiefoot. And it talks about the only way that we really change, the only way we can really deal with these things is to be present and breathe. It actually tells you in the song to breathe in, breathe out. So I recommend for you, if you are feeling stressed in this energy, if you are going through some stuff, see where you can let your breath help balance out whatever emotional energies are coming up and moving through for you. Speaking of balancing out energies, poor Luce had to go to the vet, and she's sitting right here next to me, having had a bath, and she's getting her first little meal. So if everybody could send her some good vibes. She had a little bit of a UTI. Not a little one. She had a pretty intense UTI, and so she's healing, but not feeling wonderful. What I was going to say is, relationship-wise, we have Venus and Pluto yachting today. And this is all part of moving out of this retrograde, finishing up Venus's retrograde pattern. If you remember, there was some big yachtiness with Venus happening with Pluto and Neptune playing a part of it when Venus began the retrograde process. So here we are finishing it up, coming kind of full circle. What lessons have you learned about love? What lessons have you learned about relationships? What lessons have you learned about your worth? What lessons have you learned about money? What lessons have you learned about your personal gifts? What lessons have you learned about receiving since that retrograde began? So that retrograde began at the end of July, but truly, like I said, Venus has been hanging out in Leo since June. Coming Sunday evening, Venus will be moving finally out of Leo. So this weekend, we're kind of like wrapping these lessons up that we've been in for a long time for Venus. And there's Lilith hanging out with it. And here we have the yachtiness and Pluto like, hey, I'm going to show you your shadows in this. So watch for your ego coming up. Watch and see how your inner child's doing. Hopefully there was a lot of inner child work through all of that as well. And relationships, right? These are the things that show us. So watch where you are feeling some challenge in relationships. Now it's funny because I have the Lovers and the Harmony card in reverse for today. And so be blessed by any of these challenges. It's showing you where there's still work to be done. We all have work to do. It's okay. But suss out where ego and wounded inner child may be coming up in and through this for you. Especially the wounded inner child, even more so than the ego. A lot of times the ego is like a shield to that wounded inner child. We have the sun and the moon squaring, so like I said, Moon in Cancer, bringing up the emotions that can throw the Libra energy into a tizzy. And then we have the moon and Jupiter connecting. And this is all morning stuff that's happening. Moon and Jupiter may be a little bit more anchoring, but I think it's preparing for the sun and Jupiter to be in an inconjunct this weekend. Money stuff, worth stuff, stuff around our gifts, our talents, our work, all of that could be coming up this weekend. So just FYI, as we move through. And the moon will move into Leo to help Venus finish up in the sign of Leo. So some intensity this weekend, but also some room for playfulness, some room for joy, and some room for some really big love energy. We got to just check out, what are you holding on to? Especially when it comes to the ego. A lot of times when it comes to that, we're holding on to some kind of belief about ourselves, or some way we think we need to see ourselves. And again, it feels like it's a shield. It's a wall. It's like this wall in here, which brings up that Rumi verse. Our job is not to seek for love, but to seek the walls we've built against it. Remember, we're all here working together. Sometimes we need walls. We're sitting in walls right now. Those walls are nice, right? But we need to recognize where we're building walls, even against ourselves. And I think that this is some of this energy to look at that. Walls against ourselves and walls also against the universe is kind of what I'm hearing in this. Where do you not trust God, universe? I think that's part of all these yods, especially that Neptune yod that we've been moving through. So I look at this, I'm like, it is exhausting. I feel exhausted. Are you exhausted too? Whew. If you can, with the moon in Cancer, curl up and get snoozy to prepare for this weekend's astro energy. Now, one last thing, Mars and Pluto will square each other on Sunday. That energy can be explosive, even though Mars is in Libra and wants to stay harmonious. Mars and Pluto together are a power keg. You may find, again, some of those relationship things extending a little bit, and you may not have the patience you normally have, and you may want to exert your power in this. So just watch for that. And again, take it back to the ego and take that back to the wounded child. What is that origin? So that is it for today. You can book a reading with me. Email me, mimiclark@gmail.com. If you don't get an answer, try again, because sometimes emails go through and sometimes they don't. And Mercury's been a challenge. What can I say? Besides that, the better it gets, the better it gets. There's more than enough love in the world for you. You have the power. And remember who you are. Namaste.